Hello, and welcome to Intermittent Fasting for the Win podcast. I'm your host, Mike Saunders. My co-host is Jalene Wigan, an experienced faster and fitness coach. We'll be interviewing fellow fasters from all walks of life, shining a light on their progress, their struggles, and their victories. We'll get their tips, tricks, and plenty more to help make you a winner with intermittent fasting. Today's podcast is all about diets. Jalene and Mike compare notes on all the diets that they've been on and what was good about them and what was bad about them. So let's get right to it. Jalene, have you ever been on a diet?
Do you have about 5 hours to discuss this?
I don't know if we can go that long on this podcast.
I think I was almost born on a diet.
Oh my
until
goodness.
I found fasting, of course.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, let's break down each other's diets, and some of them I'm sure that we have both done the same thing. So let's start. I'll ask you, have you ever done Weight Watchers?
It's number one on my list right here.
Oh my goodness.
I've done Weight Watchers so many times. I think the first time I did Weight Watchers was when my best friend Karna, we were in, I think, junior high, maybe 8th grade. Her mom, Sue, who, I love her so much. She was going to Weight Watchers and invited us to go with her. And I think I was only 12 or 13 at the time. Didn't need to start dieting at all. But I actually loved the community of Weight Watchers. I loved getting together with people. I found it very motivating, but I didn't like the Weight Watchers diet, if that makes sense.
You know, my mother, she did Weight Watchers, gosh, for so many years. And to her, you just mentioned community. To her, she loved the community of it because she had a whole bunch of her friends and they would go to the meetings and they would, and then after the meeting, guess what you did? You went out and eat.
Yeah. And then you would say, okay, I'm going to start this on Monday. Even if it was Monday, I'm going to start it next Monday.
There you go.
Yeah. But the community aspect was great. I did it then, and then I did it in high school. I did it in my 20s. I did it in my 30s. I did it in my 40s. And I did it in my 50s right before I found intermittent fasting. But it was no longer, you couldn't go to a facility anymore. It was all online. And that totally changed for me. It didn't feel as personal and I didn't feel the connection. And it just wasn't, honestly, it wasn't working for me.
Yeah. They changed it. I mean, it's not even called Weight Watchers anymore. Now it's just WW.
Yep.
And I tried it for a while myself, but it was just I just never could. I never could get into it, I guess.
I do have one friend who was very, very successful doing Weight Watchers, but the key for her was she was already a very, very healthy eater. And she just avoided all ultra processed foods and just started focusing on whole foods. And it did help her a lot. So, and I think that was the problem with me is when I did Weight Watchers, I was eating the Weight Watchers, they had the little 100-calorie snacks.
Yeah.
I was eating the snacks and the bars and I was getting the frozen meals, and that is so highly processed.
Yes. All kinds of junk in there.
Yeah. And it makes you so hungry. Like you'd eat, one of their meals and 2 hours later, you'd be so hungry because your body didn't get the nutrients it needed.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, there are people out there that have been successful with Weight Watchers. But man, all you got to go through to be successful with it is incredible.
Yeah. And I don't
So
ever want to have to count anything ever again. I don't want to have
no,
to
no, no,
count
no, no,
fat, calories, and
no.
I don't want to do any of that junk. I don't even count my fasting hours anymore. But, I've been in maintenance for a long time. So, I mean, I did in the beginning for the
Yeah,
first 3
yeah.
years.
Well, what's next on your list?
Slim fast.
Oh, Slim Fast. Yep, I've done
Well,
I had a friend who called it Slim Fat.
I mean, they did kind of taste good. Alan really liked them. Alan never needed to lose. Alan's my husband. For those of you who don't know me, he's never needed to lose weight ever in his whole life. But he would just drink them as almost like a protein shake.
Yeah,
Back in the day, he really liked them.
yeah.
I called them fast gas
Call them
for
what?
reasons I don't need to explain.
Oh, okay.
Not
Well,
good for my stomach.
the thing about the Slim Fast is there's all kinds of junk in that Slim Fast drink too. All kinds
Yeah.
of processed stuff.
And we
And
just didn't realize it back then. Like I thought anything that was low fat or that was like had the word diet on it, I thought it was good for me.
well, it's the same now with I mean, you go out and buy canola oil and all these different oils, and every one of them says heart healthy.
I
And
know.
that's the biggest lie that ever was.
I know. I know. People don't realize that they pay for that advertisement.
Yeah, they right. They they
Totally
they
different,
paid for it.
totally different rabbit hole.
So after Slim Fast, which I've done that too, I tried that. What else is on your list?
Jenny Craig.
Oh my goodness.
So I did Jenny Craig in my 30s and 40s, and it was disgusting. And it was boxed food. So you would go into their facility and they would weigh you in, and then you would get a menu and you could choose from the menu breakfast, lunch, dinner, 2 snacks. And it probably was under 1,500 calories. I don't know for sure. I don't remember. But the food didn't even need to be refrigerated. And it was
Yeah.
like chicken pasta and like stuff that makes you really wonder what is in it that it doesn't need to be refrigerated. And it
Mm-hmm.
tastes like cardboard.
Ah,
Yeah, it really, and it was super, super expensive. I think it was like $500 a month or so. And it worked, for 2 months or so until my body was just like, stop feeding me this garbage. It's not working anymore.
mm-hmm.
And yeah.
It's
Did you ever?
amazing. It's amazing how your body will tell you if you just listen to it that,
Yeah.
this is not working.
Yes. It was taste terrible. But
I
I
mean,
did, again, I liked the community. I had a coach that I would go and talk to, and she was super sweet. She was super fun. I loved just being with her. But the diet itself was terrible.
yeah.
Terrible, terrible. I think they're all out of business now.
Are they? I haven't even, I'll have to Google that and see.
Yeah, I
So,
think they went under after 2020. I think they've closed all their
so,
facilities.
so what's next on your list there?
The good old cabbage soup diet.
Oh my goodness. Yes, Vicky and I have done that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can barely stand cabbage in a soup now to this day. I haven't done it since I was probably in my late 20s. Um, I love cabbage. I love cabbage cooked with butter but
Hmm.
in a soup, it kind of makes me gag still because if you've ever done it, that's all you eat all day and you lose weight, but yuck.
I remember Vicky making that soup, and this was early on in our marriage, and we said, "Oh, we could lose a few pounds." And she said, "Well, let's try the cabbage soup diet." And she made the soup right according to the recipe. And the
Hmm.
first time I put it in my mouth, I said, "Oh, this is pretty good."
Hmm.
But by the end of the week, it wasn't pretty good anymore.
It's so true. You cannot live on cabbage alone. You just
No, man
can't.
does not live by cabbage alone.
No, sir. But I had a boss at the time. Every Christmas, that's what he would do. So the whole staff would do the cabbage soup diet with him to support him. And he would lose probably, I don't know, 20, 25 pounds doing it. And
Wow.
then proceed to gain it all back. And then the next year, we'd be right back there again.
And the thing about gaining it back is most of the time, and when you gain it back, you gain another 4 or 5 pounds to go with it that you didn't have before.
Yeah, I feel like that with every diet I gained an additional few pounds.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. It
Mhm.
is.
So what's next on your list there?
The good old Atkins diet,
Oh,
which
did you buy
I
the book?
actually, yeah, I had the book. I had also the book that had every single food in it that showed you the exact amount of fiber and carbs.
Yes.
I carried it with me. I remember on my 30th birthday, this is so sad. We went to Catalina Island for my birthday. We stayed there for 2 nights. I don't know if you've ever been, but it's so beautiful there. And I had just started the Atkins diet. And so I got this really delicious crab salad. So I had, all the protein, a little bit of veggies, and I felt really good. And then Alan got a giant ice cream,
Ah,
and I could not even have a bite. And I mean, it was my 30th birthday. I should have just had the darn ice cream. But
well,
when I start something, I'm committed for a little bit.
yeah, for a little bit.
Uh,
Let me tell you what happened with me on the Atkins diet. Okay. So at the time, this was before I met Vicky, and I was single, and I was the plant engineer at a frozen pizza plant.
oh boy.
Okay. And I was in charge of like a 12-man maintenance crew and responsible for all the machinery and keeping it running and everything. Well, I decided to do the Atkins diet. Well, every day, all day long, they would be pulling pizzas off of the line and taking them to the lab and cooking them to
Oh
make
my
sure
God.
that they were up to snuff. And they would have people, there's just steady stream of people going in there to, yeah, that one was pretty good. Nah, that one sucked. Well, I would go in there and they would say, Mike, you need to taste this pizza. I said, okay. And I'd grab a paper plate and get my slice of pizza. And then I would take a knife and scrape everything off of the pizza and then throw the crust in the garbage.
I
And
knew
just,
you were going there. I've done that
yeah. And I
so
would eat
many.
yeah, the pepperoni and all of that
Yep,
stuff. I would eat it, and they'd say, why are you
yep,
doing? I'm on the Atkins diet and I can't have it.
yep, yep. I've done that so many times. I still do that sometimes because I can't eat grains. I do occasionally, but for the most part, I don't. So if we get pizza, I'll do exactly what you said. And
Really?
I'll load up on a salad and just have the cheese and meat. And
Oh, yeah.
it's
But that's
just,
good.
I like it. And I liked the Atkins diet. I didn't understand the science though. And I didn't realize that I should be eating higher quality meats, like the bacon I was eating was full of nitrates and nitrites, and the meat wasn't grass fed, grass finished. There was so much hormones and added junk. And I just didn't realize, I just didn't know back then
Okay.
until I know now. So I think for a lot of people, low carb Atkins does work.
Well, two things. Atkins, like everything else, after he died and the corporation took over and they had to satisfy the shareholders and everything, they have come out with their whole line of foods and food items and snacks. And
Yeah.
every one of them's like that Jenny Craig stuff. It's all this highly processed stuff. It's
Do you
just
know who their spokesperson is?
no. Oh,
Rob
yeah,
Lowe.
yeah, 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 yeah. Rob Lowe.
Ah, I love him. He was my first crush ever. And
What's
every
your
time I
favorite
see
Rob
him,
Lowe movie?
about last night,
Oh, you know what my favorite one is?
which
The
one?
is it The Holiday? Where he's like the bush pilot down there in Africa with the elephants.
Yes,
Oh,
that
that's
is
such a
such.
good movie.
Yeah, it's a Hallmark movie, I think. It's
Yeah, yeah,
really,
yeah.
really good. I love him. So every time I see him in the commercials, I'm like, no, come to fasting, Rob. Move away from that ultra processed garbage. But he looks amazing still. So
Yeah, he does. Well,
yeah.
the second thing about, you were talking about grass-fed beef and the quality of beef. I
Mhm.
saw, and this is crazy, and we might lose a couple of podcast listeners right here, but I saw this funny thing the other day, and it said if there's a zombie apocalypse and we have to resort to cannibalism, eat the vegans first because they're grass-fed.
There's a point in that.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well let's move. Let's
That's
move on to your next diet.
my next diet was high carb, low fat.
Oh
And when I
my
mean low
goodness.
fat, I don't mean just like naturally low fat foods, like, vegetables and fruit are naturally low fat. I mean like Snackwells,
Yeah, yeah.
cookies, Snackwell, anything that said low fat, non-fat. I did that for a few years. And although I lost weight, or I didn't lose weight, I was fairly thin at the time. I was in terrible health. I felt terrible. My
Mm,
body was not getting the nutrients it needed
right,
because I
right.
was living on these disgusting non-fat yogurts that had like artificial flavors, and it was highly, highly processed food, but it was low fat. So I
Mm,
thought I was doing good. Oh, and egg whites, just egg whites.
ugh,
Yuck.
ugh.
Yeah, I
Give me
still
the
know people.
whole egg, man. I want the whole
Yeah,
egg.
I still know people who just do egg whites because they think it's healthier for them. And maybe it is. I can only speak for myself. But no, I will never just eat egg whites again.
No, 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 no. Well, you threw one on me the other day, and let's talk about it for a second. I
Okay.
had never heard of this one. Wheat belly.
Yes, that is Dr. William Davis, and I still follow a lot of his guidance. He believes that all grain is toxic,
Hmm.
and he might have a point in the U.S. Our grain is full of pesticides. I mean, it's just a fact.
Yeah.
Even organic, sadly, can be. But I don't believe that all grains are bad for everyone.
Hmm.
And he's like an all or nothing. So I was part of it. He has a Facebook group. I have all of his books. I've been fairly grain free for about 10 plus years. Just the last year, I started to introduce a little bit of corn, a little bit of rice, and occasionally sourdough. Um, but yeah, it's a grain free diet. He really talks about the gut microbiome, and he makes a yogurt. Gosh, I can't remember the strain of bacteria, but it's a specific strain that is really, really good for your gut. So I love a lot of what he says. I just can't buy into everybody
And and
has to
just
eat a certain way.
and just like with every other diet that we're talking about, there are people who are going to be successful with that.
Oh, and there's tons of people, and it's mostly people that have had a lot of allergies.
Hmm.
It's a lot of people with thyroid issues. Grains are really, really hard on your thyroid. If you have, like, I have Hashimoto's, and like I can feel it. If I eat too much grain, I can feel it the next few days in inflammation. So
Right.
it's really good for me, and I still really like him a lot. But just like I said, I believe that we're all different, and what works for me might not necessarily work for you. So
Okay.
I left his group because I kept trying to get my point across, and it was like, no, no, there's no room for discussion. And I get that. Like, even in the groups that I have, it's clean fasting or find another group, and I don't mean that in a mean, disrespectful way, but
Hmm.
it's too confusing for people who are new to have that kind of conversation, you know?
Yeah, it is.
So
Well,
I
listen,
left his groups, but I still like him.
how about the grapefruit diet?
I love grapefruit.
I do
I
too.
love it. But I cannot ever do that again. It was grapefruit, like half a grapefruit for breakfast, half a grapefruit for lunch, and I think a whole grapefruit for dinner. Man, that's a
Yeah,
lot of grapefruit.
that is a ton of grapefruit,
It
you
is. Did
know.
you do that one too?
Yes, I did. Yes, I dabbled into that one, and it was like the cabbage diet. I am sick of eating cabbage, or I'm sick of eating grapefruit, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, what about the South Beach diet?
I read some of the books. I don't remember really doing that one 100%. Is that more like a Mediterranean?
It's kind of like a Mediterranean diet.
Okay.
It's a low carb diet with three phases,
Okay.
and like they emphasize the lean proteins
Mm.
and only what they consider to be the healthy fats.
What were their healthy fats? I'm
Oh
curious.
gosh, I don't even remember, but
I'll have to look into it.
I'm sure it wasn't lard.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it wasn't either. Yeah, no, I do have the book somewhere, but I don't remember
Hmm.
doing it. So something about it must have not worked in my brain.
Well, now you know I love ice cream, right?
Me too.
That's and I make my own ice cream and this, that, and the other. But
Yeah.
there's a diet where you get to have ice cream. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I believe it's called the military diet. Is that
You
right?
got it.
Yes. And you would eat a
It's like
couple of
it was
couple of
a 3 day diet. Yeah.
yes. And you eat like a couple hard-boiled eggs in the morning,
Yes.
and then you would have a hamburger patty, if I
Yes.
remember correctly, and then for dinner steak
Yes.
and then ice cream,
Yes. You
right?
got ice cream. And that's what attracted me to that diet was
Me-
I get to have ice cream.
Yep, yep, me too. I'm like, I can do anything for 3 days if I could just have ice cream at the end. And again, it wasn't sustainable because
No.
my body needs good healthy carbs and there wasn't enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now then we have and God forbid, I've been on this one all my life, I think. It's called the high carb diet,
Mm-hmm.
and it emphasizes carbs, which, most of them are going to come from grains and fruits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Gosh, and I feel like I've been, give me it used to be I could eat an entire box of Cheez-Its.
I loved the white Cheez-Its.
Oh,
Were they Parmesan? Like
yes.
they were so. No, I think it was white cheddar. Ah,
But they
they,
made a Parmesan too. Yeah.
yeah,
That
something
was,
about that crunch. It's like
ah,
purposely addicting. You
I
can't.
I hadn't had a cheese it in over a year,
Yeah, I haven't had
it's just,
any in years.
and I don't even think about them anymore.
Yeah,
The other day I walked through the snack aisle in Walmart and all of those snacks, the Cheez Its, oh my goodness, all the different snacks. And you know what I thought about? And I muttered to myself as I passed through that aisle.
what'd you say?
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will. I started quoting the 23rd Psalm like, oh, it's crazy.
Well, because really, those foods are full of toxins and
Oh,
poison and chemicals, and people just don't. I didn't realize it, so I am not judging anybody.
no, no,
'Cause I
no.
I've been there, but now that I've been fasting for almost 5 years, I think I'm going on
Yeah,
my fifth. Yeah,
yeah.
that kind of food just doesn't appeal to me. Like I still love a good potato chip. but I want a
Oh
potato
yeah.
chip that's cooked in either olive oil or avocado oil.
Well,
And I
Vicky,
can't have them around that much because I will overeat them because they're delicious.
Vicky and I have turned into chip connoisseurs.
What's your favorite brand?
There's a brand, gosh, I can't remember it. Vicky gets them at Walmart, and they are like, there's no GMOs, and
Mm.
it's all good grains, and they're cooked in avocado oil.
Is it Siete?
No, I've had those, and those are good.
Yeah, yeah. I like Siete. I like Boulder. Boulder chips are
Yes.
so good. And there's a new brand that I just found at Aldi. Do you guys have Aldi?
Oh yeah, they got some good chips.
Yeah, Clancy's.
I tell you what
Clancy's
else.
is
I
really
tell you,
good.
I tell you what else Aldi's has got. Some of the most wonderful chocolate.
Yes.
Their
That's where I get
chocolate, yeah,
that's where I get my coffee too. It's they have
really,
so many great organic options there, and it's affordable.
yeah.
It's what I like. I get my Irish butter there. I get my Irish. It's not Kerrygold cheese, but it's similar, and it's from Ireland. It's a
Hmm.
cheddar. Oh, so good. Now I'm hungry.
Yeah, I mean, they've got antibiotic free chicken, antibiotic free, their meat section is wonderful. That's where me and Vicky buy all of our salmon and stuff.
And it's so affordable.
Yes,
So their grass-fed, grass-finished beef is like under $6.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
crazy.
we are not sponsored by Aldi, y'all.
No, 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 but we do love all.
I know. Yep.
Listen, each one of these diets that we've talked about is, Vicky's coming in here.
Vicky,
Okay,
is that
these,
Aldi with your
yes,
chips?
well, these are Walmart brand and they're called Better Goods.
Interesting. I don't
They're
think they
called,
have those at my Walmart.
they're called Better Goods. And these here are heirloom blue corn and multi-grain tortilla chips. They're non-GMO and they're all done in avocado oil.
Ah, I'm gonna have to look for those.
Hmm. And then also here at Walmart, this one is yeah, these are Boulder.
Yeah,
Yeah, the
Boulder is my
Boulder
favorite.
avocado oil classic sea salt kettle style.
Hmm.
I
When I
like,
go away with my
yeah,
girlfriends, I try to go away every couple of months. We stay down at the beach. I always bring a bunch of snacks like Boulder chips, just because
yeah.
I know, when you're with your friends, you tend to eat a little too much and maybe drink a little too much. So I always try to have a
No.
healthier option. Well, maybe a little. I always try to have a healthier option, and Boulder is my go-to.
Well, listen, each of these diets that we've talked about today has each of them's got some scientific backing, you know.
Yes, it's true.
And
Mm.
if you are a dedicated person, you can find some measure of sustainability in every one of them. But
Hmm.
with some of them, boy, you really got to be dedicated.
Yeah. Cabbage
And
soup for the rest of your life. No, thank you.
yeah, no, no, no. I'm like you. I don't want to count. I mean, I've even, I'm throwing away my scale, pretty much. I had a talk with a close friend the other day, and she said, "Well, I get discouraged when I said, well, put the scale away."
Yeah.
And I said, go by if your clothes are fitting, or go by how you're feeling,
Yeah.
and just weigh once a month. Okay, I'll do that. And
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, if you think about it, our grandparents probably didn't even own a scale, right?
no,
I think maybe they would get weighed once a year at their physical.
yeah,
It's
if
really,
if your clothes are not fitting anymore, you might need to stop eating so much.
yeah. Yeah. We know it. We know. I don't
Yeah,
know why I get surprised when I get on the scale after, overindulging for a few weeks.
yeah.
Why is there a surprise? There shouldn't be. We
Well,
know.
listen, this has been another great podcast, and I am so thankful to have you as my co-host and everything.
Mhm. Ditto,
And
my friend.
and I hope that people can take away from this that yeah, if you want to do a diet, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
But in the end, the simplest thing out there is intermittent fasting.
Yeah.
And I think that I know for me, it's been the simplest thing that I've done. It's been the most consistent thing, and it's been the most sustainable thing that I've done. And
For
so
me
that's why
too.
we keep on plugging it.
Exactly. And in all honesty, I eat way more food now that I'm an intermittent faster than I ever did on any of these
Isn't it
diets.
crazy?
I eat way more. I mean, it's healthy food. I'm very careful about what I eat, but
Yeah.
way more food than I ever did eating, breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, when
Yeah.
there were like 400 calorie meals with
Mm.
snacks. I never felt satisfied.
No. Mm-mm.
Mm.
Mm-mm. No, not at all.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll catch you next time, girl.
All right, sounds good. Have a great
And we'll
day.
we'll catch y'all next time too.
Talk to you guys again soon. Bye.
No matter which podcast source you're listening from, be sure to subscribe so that you'll know when the latest podcast becomes available. If you need more information on fasting and you want to join a group of people who embrace this lifestyle, let us recommend that you go to Facebook and search for Intermittent Fasting for the Win, and also search for Clean Fasting Jalene. Either of these groups will help you along the way. We also recommend that you read Jen Stevens' books, Delay, Don't Deny, 2nd edition, and Fast, Feast, Repeat. And remember to always consult with your healthcare professional about anything that is discussed in this podcast if needed. Thanks, and make sure to subscribe. We'll see you next time.